All right, so we are going to go to our fireside chat, which is going to include Dave Morin. Dave, please come back to the stage for us. OpenClaw Foundation board member. Everyone get up for Dave, please. And also joining us via Zoom, the founder of OpenClaw, Peter Steinberger.
Thanks.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Peter, can you hear us?
Yes.
Amazing. Well, it's great to have you. How's the TED conference?
I miss having words. It's pretty amazing. Also, I didn't get a lot of sleep because OpenClaw is so intense, so I rushed my talk a little bit, but it went well.
Nice. Maybe tell us, so how does it feel being a small town guy from the middle of Austria, being on a huge screen in front of 2,000 students in the University of Michigan right now?
I think it's easier because I only see myself. Otherwise, I mean, this is fucking amazing. So many people just tinkering with AI and like building stuff. That's exactly what we need.
What would you tell yourself when you were pushing that first commit? If you could go back and tell yourself something, what would you say about this moment?
What would I tell myself?
Yeah.
Don't call it CloudBot. You know, I've seen butterfly effects. So I would not tell myself anything because whatever I would tell you would like probably mess up the future, and the future right now is pretty good. If we are in a simulation, this one will not be turned off because it is too weird.
Amazing. Well, we have a lot of students. I mean, we have almost 2,000 students here. A lot of them are new to OpenClaw. And so I think it would be cool if you talked through some of the process around how you ended up at OpenClaw. You went on a really amazing journey over the last year. You've created a lot of different software. Maybe tell people a little bit about how the idea happened and what OpenClaw became and what it is today.
Sure, it's a bunch of questions. How did I end up here? I got bored. And now, in the age of agentic engineering, where you can prompt an idea into existence in an hour, like anytime I was just thinking about something that I liked, I just started building it. And that's kind of what I recommend everyone doing. The more you play with these tools, the more you learn, the better you get, the better your instincts will be, what will work, what might be difficult, and how you can approach this to be even faster. And how did I end up with OpenClaw? That's a multifaceted story. I posted about Cloud Code is my computer in May. And I remember that blog post already got me a lot of heat because, oh my God, I'm so irresponsible. I run Cloud Code with dangerous skip permissions and let it do stuff on my computer. But I kept doing that sometimes. And then I built Vibe Tunnel, which was like Cloud Code over web. But that also didn't fully stick. But the need was still there. That sometimes it's just like you walk around and you want to like send a prompt to your computer. And then I guess in November, I gave it another go. And this time it went a wildly different route. And look where we are now. Like some weird lobster cult is filling a stadium.
What was the moment, you've told me about a moment that you had in Morocco that really surprised you. What was, tell us about that moment.
Oh my God, if I have to tell one more time that moment, I literally took that moment as well when I did my TED Talk. But it was just this very, very raw early version that basically was what's a connector to Cloud Code CLI and some unicorn glue tuck tape. And then I added support for images. one image. Not by far not as fancy as what we have now. And then it didn't feel quite right. It still felt too much like a tool. So I explained to agent, you are in WhatsApp, and that helped a lot. That was before we even had a soul.md thingy. And then it felt so good that I, for a moment, didn't saw it and sent it an audio message instead of text. Because when you're on the go, it's just more convenient. And then I saw the typing indicator. And I was like, what's going to happen now? Because actually, I didn't build this, This should not work. And then it just worked. And I was like, how do you do that? Because you can just ask your agent, right? And the agent, back then it was called Claude. Careful, the D is silent. Just said the mad lad figured it out on its own. And then it walked me through all the steps, how it got a message from me, but a file with no file ending. Didn't build that. And then it inspected the header, and then it found out it was Opus, and then it used FFmpeg to convert it to Wave, and then it was looking for Whisper, but it didn't have it installed, and it would have taken too long to install it. But then it found an OpenAI key, and then sent it to the server, and then it translated it and sent it back, and then it replied. This realization that like now all these programming, problem-solving skills that you need for coding, now abstract into anything basically, that was kind of the realization that, oh wow, this is even about me. And then kept like building more and more shit on top of it.
Amazing. You built a company before OpenClaw that probably almost everyone in this room has interacted with, but they don't realize. Yeah. Tell people about that.
How do I even explain to people that I built, I guess, world's most successful PDF framework company? And when you draw a diagram of like easy and hard and fun and no fun, it's very much in the corner of like hard and not fun. Which is also great because it made a great product because nobody wanted to build it because PDF is just such a pain in the ass. But I learned a lot. I built it for every OS. I think part of those skills made me a better vibe coder. Based on Wikipedia, I'm vibe coder Peter Steinberger, so I have to like play with it. And I learned a lot. And if you ever use Dropbox or did any airplane flight or used a bank, you probably used our software. And it was handwritten like an animal.
That's amazing. After you sold the company, and you've talked about this a little bit publicly, but it was hard after you sold the company, right? And you have a lot of students in the room that are thinking about starting their own project. And sometimes you start a company or you start a project and it works out. Sometimes you start a company and it fails. In this case, it worked out wildly, but you still kind of found yourself lost. Can you talk us through that a little bit?
Well, I would say more broadly, retirement is overrated. I see so many people on Reddit and other places to talk about fire and Fed Fire and how they work really, really hard and then they can retire and like drink cocktails in Hawaii. I mean, drinking cocktails in Hawaii sounds pretty awesome, but if you do that for years, it gets very, very shallow. You cannot, maybe some people can, but I think long-term happiness doesn't come from consumption. You need to like create stuff, like actually do something that is hard, that you can be proud of, something that takes a while and it has a payoff. That is a whole different level of of happiness, where you can like be proud about what you did. If your whole life is based on party or like not really doing anything, you will have to go higher and higher to like feel something, and it will get very problematic. So yeah, I tried retirement for a while. I'm much rather I'm in a situation like this now where I don't know what to do first, but at least it's exciting.
That's amazing. You're now at OpenAI, and a lot of people regard you as one of the, most visionary people in AI. Talk us through your vision. What do you see in the future? Where do you think agentic computing is going? Earlier tonight, University of Michigan announced that they're establishing an institute for agentic computing. And I think you have a really beautiful vision about where this goes from here, and I think everybody would love to hear about it.
Honestly, kudos to the university. This is very visionary. This is very 2026. We are very rapidly going to a future where everyone will have not one, but multiple agents. You might have your work enterprise lowercase OpenAI claw that has to securely talk to your home private uppercase claw, OpenClaw. And maybe you have one for your house or for your relationship or for specific projects. We need to solve identity. We need to solve auditability. You know, we as humanity, how did we level up by collaborating and specializing? What if agents will do the same? So there's some really interesting questions that we need to figure out, and this is going to be faster than some people think.
Why is fun so important to you in this movement?
My thesis is that it needs to be fun to do the best work, right? Like I work really hard, but I also structure my work so that it often feels like playing a video game. And even that, like sometimes playing a video game means you have to grind to like find the right items, and it might not always be fun, but overall it's fun. Because only then you can like work really hard and also be creative at the same time. That's the only way I ever succeeded. Like any job that I structured in a way that it didn't actually feel like work is where I ultimately did the best work. But also because otherwise people might get the wrong message. I have many days where I don't feel like playing video games. And then my trick is usually like I pick one thing I know is really exciting or like feels less boring in that moment. And as soon as I start, starting is the hard part. As soon as I'm in, then I'll just keep going and then always find something that's interesting. But yeah, it's even when it's more like a video game, sometimes you have to like push yourself, short-term goals and long-term goals.
What's your point of view on open source? Why is it so important that OpenClaw is open source?
I would have never worked closed source, number one. Number two, I wanted to build a sandbox where like people can play, and it's more fun if more people can play. Number three, making this a closed source product. What's the goal? Like selling it, and then I offer paid support. I did this for 13 years in my last company. I didn't want to do this again, and now I'm doing it for free on Twitter. So guess I screwed myself. Um, no, but also that software. I think the value of software is changing. Nothing's truly closed source anymore because those modern models, they are very happy of just reading the binary. If you've seen GPT 5.4 Cyber, the unnerved model, it very happily grabs up any executable, and basically you have the source code. So that also doesn't make much sense anymore. Um, so it felt like the most natural thing, and I picked TypeScript because that's right now world's most used programming language. It is very beginner friendly. It is very forgiving. I wanted to have as many people as possible to like have this opportunity of just like build their own little agent or like build better memory or do whatever to like tweak the setup.
You talked about the mission of the OpenClaw Foundation being to bring people closer to AI. Why is that the mission?
Look, even to yesterday when I gave the TED talk, I got a lot of people talking, and you saw in the room how many people are scared, but at the same time had no clue what I said. If people are just scared of AI and then try to ignore AI, that does not help. You cannot stop what's coming. The best way to like deal with it is leaning into it. Is moving AI from this scary nebulous thing into something that is fun and weird, like lobsters and headbands and whatever else people are building with it. So I think this is something that we need in order to build a good future.
And the last question I'll ask you, and then we'll let you get back to the conference. We appreciate you taking time today. Is why'd you choose the lobster?
Uh, Honestly, I think that's a question for a future time to answer. I have to keep some of my secrets.
All right, Peter. Well,
But,
thank you
but,
so
but like, I'm sad that I couldn't come on this one. Like it just with the TED talk and everything, it was almost impossible to pull it off. I'll join the next ClawCon. I hope this is not the last one. I hope we're just getting started, and I very much feel that we're just getting started. And yeah, I hope you guys have a blast and build something cool.
Thank you so much, Peter. And thank you for what you've built. All right, thanks everyone. I'll hand it back over. I think we have a few more demos.